Hey, there we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be where you are. And now that we're on the other side of daylight savings time here in the States, welcome back to the live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz. Today is November 3rd, 2019. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How's it going there, chat room? So good to see folks tuning in. I'm very happy to see you. I am getting things set up. I'm feeling good about my setup here. I'm in a hotel room. I'm in Orlando. I've got the lights turned off behind me so that I'm lit up a little bit here. Good morning, Boom Boom, and Sean is here. Acrophobic Pixie. So good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much for tuning in. Queba is here. Faux Lewis, who thinks this project isn't complex. We've taken input. Well, let me come back to that. That's a good question. And there's something there definitely that we should talk about. Stelzy, it's good to see you. Good evening, Johan. Webface CA, good morning. Brave Cobra, hello, good to see you, my friend. PowerShell Freak is here. How are we doing? So,
Brave Cobra 2 just resubscribed for 12 months. Let's have a party.
1 year. Thank you so much, Brave Cobra. It is amazing to have you on for a year. We'll make another donation to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Thank you so much for that support. And just like we do with all of our subs, all of our cheers, I will make that donation. Thank you very much. Just making sure I've got a good microphone level. How is it? How do things sound? Good to see you, iRate TV. Ignite starts tomorrow. I'm here a little bit early. I've got some things to set up, some things to do ahead of time. So we'll be getting that ready, and Tuesday you'll see me on stage from Ignite. Ignite Live I'll be helping out with. Mike is good to Acrophobic Pixie. Fantastic. Thanks so much. So the question from, let me go back to this question from Faux Lewis. Who thinks this project isn't a little complex? You're right. There are some very complex things that we've learned and that we've built using the actor model, using Akka.net, and we've put that into ASP.NET Core, and we've used that architecture, right? We've learned a lot about that architecture, and we've used that as a vehicle to make this what's going to be a very complex bot with video widgets and sound effects and interactions in the chat room. And that's a very common thing that a lot of folks build here on Twitch. But we're using those concepts that we all really understand because we're here on Twitch. And if you're on YouTube, join us on Twitch. Trust me, it's pretty cool. Anyways, you've come this far, right? If you're on YouTube, just click the button down below in the description, but click follow on the channel and you can join us sometime. So, but what we've done by laying out all this plumbing with Akka.net and with some of the things in Blazor that we've learned around our user interface framework is we now have the ability to build much simpler widgets and focus on just those cool technologies and techniques that we want to use to make those things interesting. You've seen pictures of the stage at Ignite already. It's massive. Yes, stages for Ignite and Build are gigantic. And that stage that you saw for Ignite, actually, they can't fit everybody in that area, that facility. So there's remote viewing areas throughout the complex. There's 35,000 people here, including staff and speakers, 25,000 attendees. It's a lot. There's a lot of people here. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little bit about the project and discussing it and what we can do. Stelzy says spaghetti code is easy to write but also complex to maintain. The actor design pattern is at first hard to grasp, but much easier to extend and maintain. I got to agree with you, my friend. What we've put in place is going to make it very easy for us to extend. We've written some interfaces and things to allow us to change out how we store data, how that resides on disk, on different services, whether it's Azure, AWS, Google, or even your own on-prem facilities. So we've added the ability to change and maintain and make things a little bit easier. So Faux Lewis isn't wrong. There are some parts of this that are very complex. But for those more advanced developers, that's really cool. That's very exciting. For some new developers, for some folks who are just getting into .NET development, some of the things that we're going to do here today to just do database interaction. What's that look like? How do we save data to some of these data storage mechanisms? That's a little bit simpler technology, a more basic interaction that we're going to be writing, and that might be interesting to them. That might help them learn something. So what I'm hoping to do, and I hope that you, chat room, appreciate this, is that we're being able to feed folks and give them the information and have a little bit of fun using all different kinds of technologies at different levels, and be able to show things that are, I hope, interesting and that you enjoy. M. Stu likes the shirt. You like that? My password is the last 8 digits of pi. So you're never going to figure it out. So I've got my lanyard on here today. I needed to clip my Ignite badge to it. We'll take care of that later. And I've also got, there's a whole bunch of little buttons and things they want you to clip to your Ignite lanyard. And that's neat, but I've got some Twitch pins that I'm going to clip onto mine. I've got a whole bunch of Twitch swag that you're going to see me wearing and wandering around the event if you are able to make it here to Ignite. Stelzy said, advanced developers gravitate to such patterns that make extending and maintaining easier in the long run. Yes, there's absolutely something to be said for more advanced developers want to make it easier for more junior developers to be able to use and consume the frameworks and things that they've built to make those hard tasks a lot easier to use. So it's a great way to divide up labor when you're working on a project together. Really good stuff. Let me get some music playing here today. I'm going to play, of course, music to code by our friend Carl Franklin. Is now streaming on Twitch. He spent some time yesterday. You may have caught him. He was streaming, writing the next music to code by song. I'm not going to play that one today, but you can tune in and watch him as he's writing this music now. It's really great stuff. This is Orchid. Let's see if we can get a good level set there. There we go. Fantastic. This is Orchid from Music to Code By. Oh yeah. Very groovy. A lot of bass in this one. I like it. It's a good wake-up song. It gets me in the mood to write some code here. All the songs in Music to Code By will get you in the groove, get you in that flow, so that you can focus on your tasks. And all your other concerns, your worries, kind of fade away. Check it out, mtcb.pwop.com. You know what? I don't think I have the bot running. I don't think the bot's running. Oh my goodness. Let's get that bot running. There we go. It's there somewhere. I know there's a command to minimize this thing. There we go. You can run the music command in the chat room and you'll get information. Must be a Twitch glitch? Nope. Nope, it's me. There we go. There's the command. Exclamation point music and get you the link to Music to Code By. Thanks so much, Carl. We appreciate you letting us listen to your music together here as we're writing code on Twitch. Had to pause a couple times. Yeah, that's going to be a glitch on Twitch. Sorry about that. Do I stream the music or do I have it local? I have it local with me. Way wrong answer, FritzBot. I have a copy on my OneDrive of the songs, and I replicate them to my machines that I stream from. So, all right, let's talk about our project. What is Carl's Twitch? He is, can we get a shout out? He is, I believe it's Carl Franklin. Right? I think it's just Carl Franklin with a C. Let me take a quick look here, and I will put twitch.tv. I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. So, Carl just started streaming yesterday. There you go. There's a shout out for Carl, so you can follow him, and next time he decides to start streaming, playing some music live on Twitch here and talking to you, you can check him out. Really great to be able to support him. We are ignited. Yes, we're getting ignited. It's going to be a tremendous event this week. All week long we'll be here. So, let me think. What else do I need to do? Eeny, meeny, miny. I don't know. Let me check out one more thing before we get going. I want to make sure I have that. I want to make sure I have, there it is, the count down here. I want to make sure that's correct so that we appropriately trigger some giveaways. And I didn't make it to the post office before I left town. Terrible of me. So let me pop that out, because the new Twitch UI doesn't show the true number of viewers. There we go. Getting to watch me make the sausage, as it were, here, getting some things configured. You like the shirt, MBB? Come on, Stream Elements. Let's go. No, there is no user interface. Stream Elements doesn't like Microsoft Edge. You make me sad. There we go. Now it's loading. Yes. All right. So the number of followers right now is 8663. Yeah, it's off by 12. Which feels lame. And then we'll talk about our project, some options that we have here. There we go. There's the update. Ugh. All right. Yes, I am traveling today. I am in Orlando. We're getting ready for Microsoft Ignite this week. And I'm hoping that I'll have a chance to go and see some of our friends, Nurble and Imperial and Casey Renee Cosplay and Fierce Kittens are at Epcot.
Beardy just resubscribed for 11 months.
Copper Beardy, thank you so much for the resub. We'll make another donation. Thank you so much. And of course, you're going to get all the benefits here. Thank you very, very much for that continued support. If your followers were off by 12, I'd probably be much more concerned. Oh my gosh, MBB.
Moist Booty Boy just gifted 5 subs.
Wow, thank you so much. I can't go off. I can't be too loud. I'm in a hotel and I can hear there's families in the hall here. Thank you so much for those 5 gift subs. We'll make 5 more donations to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. And these folks, is that, Jay Giothergo, Albert Codd, Frankus, Brian Lagunas, and Sosan123. You all just got gift subscriptions thanks to our friend MBB. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support. For the kids indeed. InstaFluff is here. So good.
Greetings, my excellent friends.
Good to see you. Thanks so much. St. Jude is right down the road from Binary Chef. Nice. All right, let me get into the project over here. Let's talk about using Azure Data Storage. There we go, look at that, right up there. So this is my Azure portal that I use for the things that we've deployed to Azure so far for the FritzBot, for the distributed bot that we're using. And right now, the bot is right here. It runs as a web app. It's running inside of a container on Azure App Service. It's running as a Linux container on Azure App Service. InstaFluff says, good luck at Ignite. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my friend. It's going to be a good week. I'm really looking forward to this. We had a couple different things planned that we're going to bring some other folks in, and those plans fell through. I wasn't able to make that happen. But we'll see how this goes. We're really looking forward to this. The advantage of traveling is lack of having to do the dishes. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Yes, distributed bot. Uncle Bill drew in. Hello, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Is this a Docker container or some other one? This is a Docker container that we're using. Inside, I'll even open the web app here for you so that you can see it. I'm running AZ mask. Up here you can see the little raccoon. That needs to be turned on. And it'll hide some things for me here so that I don't inadvertently show some subscription ID I'm not too worried about. But there's some other keys here that I don't want folks to be able to see. Just a quick visit, packing up for work. Well, thanks so much, Uncle Bill. Great to see you. So with this turned on, it won't accidentally show connection strings and things like that on stream. But you can see this is, right, I can show you the app service over here. Right, this is running in East US because I'm in the East US, so I want to run it here. Not a lot of CPU being used, 40% memory usage. This isn't that big of a service here. Where is it? Here, let me show you the app service plan that I've chosen. I've actually chosen a kind of a small one here. 3.5 gigs of memory. It's going to be $70 a month, but I've chosen this one so that I can set up SSL. I can scale up to 20 instances. It's going to take daily backups. I can turn on Traffic Manager. A lot of disk storage if we need it, but it's a small instance that we're running. We've got not a lot of processors that we're using here, so I'm feeling pretty good about where this is at. I could scale this down even further. But I want to make sure that I have the custom domain out here. If you scale down further, you lose the ability to do a custom domain. So let's take a look over here. Did I miss something? Nope. Okay. Did I set up the dev env? What do you mean the dev env, Brave Cobra? The development environment? What development environment? I didn't make it easier for folks to develop yet. I did finish, I believe I finished and I deployed. Let me show you. But I'm not logged in. Let's get logged in. Key in my two-factor authentication over here. Everybody loves two-factor authentication. Know what I mean, Vern? Here we go. GitHub. And that's... I believe I pushed out a final change. Channels are now reconnected. I thought I was working on a Cloudy Live. Thank you for the follow. I thought I pushed out an update. Let's take a quick look at our log here on this machine. Channels are now reconnected. Yeah, so you can work locally with data storage, and it'll do reconnection and save everything to disk. So you can work locally without having Azure services to connect out to and interact with. So there is a way to work on disk locally. I still don't have the ability to swap out and emulate the Twitch services. I don't have that yet. Let's finish building this last production service, and then we can come back around and talk about how to work locally as a developer. So, Cronrat asks, oh, this is a good question. Let me put this up on featured chat. This is a very good question. Thank you for the question, Cronrat. Let me put this up here. Why should I use containers at all? It only makes it more complex, but only solves the old problem that once was called, but it works on my machine. So, Cronrat, you're not wrong. It solves the but it works on my machine problem. Folks have found virtualization is a very good way for us to interact and and build and deploy smaller instances of our application, and we can scale those virtualized instances much easier than if we put them right on the metal. Right? If you put an application directly on the metal, directly into an operating system, you're going to eventually run into some sort of an issue where you need more, right? Or you don't need as much and you need to move it somewhere. So that portability of your application is better when it's virtualized. Now, of course, you can create a virtual machine and deploy a file that represents the hard drive, a VHD file, a virtual hard drive file that you could move around. You could do that, but you still need to start that up and configure the virtual machine at that point. By using a container, you get everything configured exactly how you want it inside of the container. When you deploy it onto a host server and you start that container, it contains everything you need and is already configured with the configuration for that application. So you've shortened the time to startup. You've also then got the ability to take that container image and deploy it as many times as you need to. So now you can have multiple copies very, very quickly, and you can still do the scaling because it's virtualized. So it's all about flexibility. Johan says it solves a deployment problem where we can put a new instance of the container on and warm it up and then switch traffic around. Exactly. And Johan's correct here as well. Let me highlight that. This is a very good way to describe this as well. You end up with infrastructure as code. So all the things that you would have had, a load balancer and network switches and all these things are now just code, and it's a lot easier, a lot more flexible to change and deploy. It's a really, really good set of options, and it's about having those options. So by doing containers, we get a lot more flexibility about where we put it, where we deploy, and that freedom is the freedom to choose and choose later. It is very, it makes us very productive. Taking a look here, Snoopaloopy says it allows for rolling updates to minimize downtime. Yes, very good point. Sven Vendenbrunn says, all that container technology, will it stay because you have Docker, Kubernetes, Service Fabric? What's the best option for the future? Well, that's a really good question. What's the best option for the future? What I can tell you, Sven, is Docker is a company that's building and working with their technologies, and folks, a lot of folks depend on that. Google, Amazon, and Microsoft all depend on those technologies to build and run their clouds. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Google is highly dependent on Kubernetes for how they stand up and run and orchestrate your applications when you deploy to Google Compute Engine, to Google's cloud. Kubernetes, I agree with Brave Cobra. I'd bet my money on it. There's a lot of folks that have a lot of time and money invested into it. It's open source, so you have all three of those companies investing to make Kubernetes better for everybody. So they're going to be around for a while. Kubernetes and Boom Boom asks, Kubernetes and Service Fabric use Docker images. No, Service Fabric doesn't necessarily use Docker images. I believe you can use it now. Kubernetes uses Docker images exclusively. There are other ways to deploy to Azure Service Fabric that do not use Docker containers, but it's something that I would recommend using the Docker containers for portability and compatibility across every environment. So yes, Kubernetes is basically one because all the cloud vendors are on it. For audit, transparency, and operations purposes, you're right, Johan, lots of great options there. So my application's out here. I have a couple pull requests sitting out here. Let's take a look at some of these pull requests and let's get some folks some feedback on some things that they've sent over to us. I'm seeing now that our sentiment analysis isn't out there running. Let's get that refreshed. Let's get the sentiment analysis running. Let's get the marquee running across the top of the screen. And these are going to change in a little bit here. We'll see them move around a little bit. All right. iWatcher says serverless. Let me show. Says serverless is the next step. I'm not sure I agree with that. The problem I have with serverless is you've given up too much control. You give up so many things when you build a serverless application that you've given up so much control that it's a little unsettling. Yeah, folks are doing serverless and for certain tasks, very task-oriented things, very, very cool. But you can get even worse spaghetti code with serverless than you can with a small Docker container. It's harder to swap things in and out and around with serverless. There's some concepts there that aren't quite ready yet. So, hat and sandals guy.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
So good to see you. Trying to lurk, but the Twitch desktop app was struggling to connect to the stream. You've refreshed 3 times. I'm sorry about that. We've had a couple people with some issues connecting to Twitch. So, you can of course just deploy code on another machine if you set it up, install the frameworks on it. Here we go. Yeah. Boom Boom's making a very good point here. Look at this. Look at all this that you could do, right? Set up application, install the frameworks, launch all the underlying services. But sometimes you'll need to set up new publish profiles. With a Docker container, it's all built in that little container, just like you might have an installation package for a desktop application. And you can pick that up and drop it onto another machine very, very easily. You switched to the Twitch desktop app from Chrome because you were getting a blank screen with this lovely voice. How's it going there? Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Welcome back to the smooth stylings of C# Fritz. Thanks so much. How long would it take that with virtual machines? Just wondering. A while. It's not impossible, but it's going to take a little bit to get set up. Let's take a look at some of these pull requests we have hanging out here. Stelzy 2 days ago sent us a pull request to put a build target.NET format to format the code. He says, when you want to contribute and your IDE strictly adheres to an editor config file, the PR gets quite noisy with all the white space errors that are currently widespread in the codebase. He's not wrong. Added the .NET tool .NET format as a pre-build target so that before every build in the debug configuration, some of the settings in the editor config file can be adhered to automatically. Nice, great idea. .NET tool install command created a .config .NET tools JSON file that makes the .NET format that tool available for the project after you do a .NET tool restore. As mentioned, this target executes before every debug build. The release build or any other configuration is not affected by this target. Right, release builds don't exactly care about the formatting of code. That's a human thing, right, for our human eyes to be able to read. To continue, it can also be run with .NET build-c CI checks in the CI checks configuration. It does a dry run and errors out if nobody cared to build it or was not able or willing to properly follow a minimum of editor config settings. Nice. This can be used to fail a CI build when a PR is opened. Okay, that's not bad. So be able to say, hey, you need to format your code properly before we accept that pull request. I'm okay with that. So important changes to files. .NET tools JSON configures the project level .NET tools .editor config. Mostly white space changes so that it looks nicer. Some minor changes on top of it that seemed appropriate to me. Okay. Defines 2 targets that do the work in build properties. Because MS Build already imports the file into every project, it builds these targets and they're automatically run when the conditions are met. Nice. The rest of the changes the rest of the changes is only the tool formatting all the CS files in the solutions. As you can see, there are many white space annoyances that don't want to adhere to .editor config. Ooh, look at all those. Okay. I have the visual extension format document on save installed that helps me in this way very much. When I open any file in the code base and save it, practically every file has white space changes to it, so it gets quite noisy with this code not adhering to editor config settings. Very cool. Let's take a look here. Yeah, that's a lot of files changed. That's a lot of files changed. Right, so .NET tools JSON right here includes .NET format, editor config. Let's see what's in editor config. Yeah, lots of spacing changes here. Sort system directives first. I like that. Yep. So, yeah, this is just text formatting here for the most part. So this is a set of rules that your text editor will follow. so that we all format and our code looks the same and it looks appropriate for all of us. So here's that build properties file. This tells the project, when you compile, do some of these other things as well. So here's the target.NET format, and it'll actually say .NET format, there it is. And here's the target for check formatting. If the configuration is CI checks, continuous integration checks. So formatting and set test and .NET format dry run check. So this will actually error out if it's not formatted, if it has to do some work. Nice. Devil Dog Tech Nerd says, happy Sunday, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you very much. Containers free developers to think and prepare for other environments than those on their development machines. You're right, Conrad. Yep. Azure App Service takes under a minute to stand up a new instance, and for a simple web app that serves relatively static content, Boom Boom says, this is a good comment. For relatively static content, you would just have to download a publish profile straight from the app service settings. Deploying something like a new instance will take a couple days. Ouch. Yeah. Editor configs prevent unnecessary merge conflicts. For this reason, I have made it a must for all of our projects, says Johan. That's a very good strategy there. Look at that. Yes, editor config is a big deal. And this is something that beginner developers, you'll feel some pain when you first start to see editor config in your project, but it ends up giving you a lot of power so that all of your project looks the same no matter who is writing code. And especially for open source projects, this is something that we want to encourage. I'm going to squash and merge so that we get this in as one. Thank you so much, Stelzy. Great stuff there. Thank you for helping us format and maintain our code better. Awesome stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's funny. The clock here didn't adjust for daylight savings time. That's weird. Like, why wouldn't you adjust for daylight? Set time automatically. 1 second here. Adjust for daylight savings time automatically. There it goes. That's better. That's right. And that clock should reset as well. I have a clock here on my Stream Deck that I look at. And it didn't adjust for daylight savings. Which is kind of weird. Know what I'm saying there? No, the Stream Deck isn't adjusting for daylight savings. Let me restart that real quick. Yes. Yep, there went my music. We'll restart it. I promise. There it is. That's better. All right. Get the music playing it again. I need to be able to see my clock and know exactly how much time I have left. Cronrat says, do you guys have preset editor config files, or do you create them for every project anew? Cronrat, actually, Visual Studio will kind of infer based on the way you're writing code and generate one for you. So it's kind of friendly like that. All right, so that was merged into our dev branch. Fantastic. Thank you, Stelzy, for that pull request. We've got 2 other work in progress pull requests here that I'm going to skip, but we won't get into right now. This is the next one we're going to work on, support for offline development. We might get to that today, but I want to talk about, I definitely want to talk about storage technologies here and what we can choose and how we can use these. So before I go any further, yes, I know. You loud laptop here. Thank you. There we go. All right. Let me pull in the changes there from Stelzy. There we go. And I'm going to start Visual Studio here. So that's running for us while we take a look at data storage. So if I just go to azure.com, I was doing this the other day, trying to think about, well, what should, yeah, thanks. No, you're going to be difficult here for me. Is this the wrong Visual Studio? No. What do you mean operation? Unable to locate .NET Core SDK. It's here. Version 3.0.100. It better be here. You're kidding. I think I need to reinstall the .NET SDK. Let me kick that off while we're continuing to work. I know, right? MJT? What happened there? Like, I was cleaning up some older .NET SDKs. I don't think I deleted the 3.0.100. I'll let that save and we'll get that installed here in just a few minutes. Good. So I was looking at the Azure website. And in particular, I wanted to find databases. I want to use a database for storing configuration data for our various channels that we're managing and interacting with here on the bot, so that each channel has its own data storage for its own configuration. This kind of makes sense. You know, I don't want the configuration for the C# Fritz channel to interfere with the configuration for, say, InstaFluff's channel. He's got his own configuration that should be over there for InstaFluff, and mine's over here, and they shouldn't overlap and interact with each other. So I'd like to have a database that I can store that, and it's being managed out of process from my application. So I've got a bunch of different options here, and I was looking through these and trying to figure out, well, which one should I use? Let me kick off that install and we'll continue talking about this. So we've got a bunch of different options here. The one that I have been using for our widget persistence is the table storage down here. See, that says it was successful. Why don't I believe you?
Houston, we have a problem.
Okay. Where did that go? Right, this is like... Help me out here, chat room. What happened here? Right, do the repair. Go find all the things. Put that down. Check the Windows variables. I don't know. Console and Vault would be your choice, but that'd be overkill. There are some great options available. Absolutely. I don't have no, the attention should be in there. You should be able to trigger those attention things here. Maybe. Right? We should be able to do that. Nope, that's not playing. Restart the terminal because the path is being set. Well, it looks like something got whacked from our .NET folder here. Right? The specified account already exists. What account? Why are you setting up accounts? What are you doing there, .NET Core SDK? Yeah, where's the error? Well, that stinks. All right, now I feel really bad. Let's try uninstalling and reinstalling. Yeah. No, there's plenty of free space on disk. Oh, there's free space. Now, right, that went through and quite frankly, it started too quickly. No. No. Okay. Right, it's down in here somewhere. No. .NET. There it is. There it is. That's telling me it's not in the path, is what it's telling me. You know what I mean? Like, that should be a thing. Right? If I execute, you make me sad. That works. Mm-hmm. Where did that come from? I would have thought that I could have just rerun the console to refresh my path. But holy crow, look at all that nonsense. Docker, 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 blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for .NET in here, and I don't see it, which would explain why I can't find it. Yeah. I've got to do this by hand because somewhere it dropped. Edit the system environment variables. Pardon me for a second here while I continue to break my machine. Path, edit. Yeah, it's not in there. .NET tools. Yeah. Right. Now I've got it. There it is, 30100. Got it. Haha, feeling better about that already. So if I go back over here and I tell these to reload, particularly this one, no. What do you mean it can't be completed? I probably have to restart so it gets the path. That was the wrong solution file. Yep, Visual Studio Preview, absolutely, Cronrat. Whenever the VS Preview updates, it registers preview.net as default. So I have, let me show you. There's a way that you can configure that so that it doesn't put down the default. I'm gonna change solutions here. This one has everything loaded. I don't wanna use the everything. I wanna use this one. There's a file you can put down on disk so that you can pin to a specific version of the SDK. And I put down this global JSON file right here, right? By writing that file, which you can do with a .NET new statement. There it is, global JSON file. You can create a new one of these. But if you take a look at what's inside this file, it's just a little JSON file that says, here's the SDK version that this folder and everything below it will use, 30100. So, Kasukin says, am I using the hotel connection and it works? Yes, I am. What do you think of that? I've dropped a few frames, 0.7%, but we've been pretty good too so far today. Pretty good. Yeah, I'm wondering that as well, MJT. It's not a path size limit cryptocoder. We're good there. Suggestion for next time, use the Visual Studio installer for .NET Core installs. Much simpler to keep updated. Here's the problem used by me, right? Check this out. Get ready to cry, Okay, you ready? You ready? I'm still going. I have gigs and gigs and gigs of preview SDKs installed here. The Visual Studio installer had already put down the things, but in removing some of these older versions of the SDK, I had 1.0 preview versions of the SDK on this machine. In removing those, it broke the future versions of the SDK. Yeah, so many SDK. What's my output stream video? What do you mean? Oh, this is high def, 1920, 1080. I'm only at 30 frames a second though, and I'm pushing 4,000 kilobytes a second. Bot down? Is the bot down? Shouldn't be down. Yep, it is down. You're right. Restart. There we go. Thank you for the follow. Who's our new follower out there? Steven422, appreciate you joining us.
Great Scott!
And there's our alerts. Fantastic. Johan says, Kathleen Dollard and her team are making a great tool to help uninstall the right ones. Yes, they are. And I need to get rid of, I've literally got gigs of old SDKs here that I need to get rid of. And I have a feeling I'm going to be fighting a little bit more of that back and forth to manage those. But that's not what, let's get back on topic here. Let's go back to what we actually wanted to talk about here. We want to choose somewhere to store our data for when we deploy and we're running the bot out in Azure. And there's a couple different ones here. Crumbs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 10 different database options available. We're using table storage so that we get this NoSQL key value store for our tables, not even our tables, for our configuration for widgets that we're trying to persist. We'll just put it down in there and be able to reference and use that. Pull back, just that one thing that we need very, very quickly and save it out very quickly into that table storage. Now, that's not bad. That's pretty good, but it's also, right, it's also something that I can't query too much. If I have to do a little bit more interesting query against, I'm gonna have a problem, right? It's not built for querying beyond just what those two keys are that you index by. For our configuration, I have configuration that I'm going to store per channel, per feature, and it might make sense to have those in separate database tables. So I'd like to have something that's a little bit more sophisticated. And the first option, the one that I was recommended to check out, is Cosmos DB. Multi-model database for any scale. The challenge with Cosmos DB is it's literally built to be the kitchen sink for data storage. You can throw anything you want in there and it will handle it, whether it's tables, whether it's NoSQL, it's columns, it's whatever. And it does geographically safe read-writes into the other data centers that you store your data. I'm not going to be going across. And I thought that's a pretty good thing. There's a great model there. It's kind of built and looks and feels like MongoDB, which is a great in-memory database that's JSON and NoSQL focused. But it's the problem with Cosmos, for my purposes, is that's a lot more power that I don't need and I'm not going to use, to be perfectly frank. So I'm going to strike Cosmos DB for that. Fuel Snable asks, what does geographically safe mean? When you're running an application and you want to have backups in other data centers across the entire service, you can tell Cosmos DB to be replicated into those other data centers. So when I commit into my East Coast, United States data center instance of Cosmos DB, it'll run that same commit against the other ones around the world in those other data centers at almost the same time. FritzBits, am I hacking the internet? Hey, Sloth Chunk. Yeah, there you go. No, we're not hacking the internet. Folks can turn that in, and we can have some fun. We can do some interesting and funny things here on stream together. So, a bunch of stuff that we can do with that. That'll be a little bit fun here on stream. So where did it go? All right, let's take a look. Nope, we're good there. So I'm keeping an eye on that reward queue. Make sure if anybody redeems any bits that we can go and handle and reward you appropriately. In case an Azure data center gets hit by a huge disaster, like spilling coffee.
What's that?
No, not spilling coffee. No. It's too late. I'm not gonna go in. Sounds like hacks or magic. You put my buttons on my chat window. If you take a look, there's all kinds of things that you can do there to kind of mess with us. So, Bry Monk says, and this is, so let me, this is exactly, very good question, Bry Monk. Let me answer this, because I think this will kind of feed into why I'm looking at these different options here. Some sort of bot, that's right. Why can't we just store in a file for configuration? So we have different things that we can, different database configurations that we can use. We have different channels that we're managing. This is a distributed bot that'll manage for multiple channels. So we would have to store multiple different files, and that's okay. We actually support that for when you're running locally. When you, however, get into a large cloud environment and we need to scale and be able to support multiple instances of the application, well, now I can't store it on files locally unless I replicate the file system, or all of the servers have access to the same file system. But if I want to do things like we were saying earlier in a cloud environment, maybe I replicate and have a hot backup of my cloud instance of this, not just running in East US, but maybe I want a backup copy running in one of the Asian data centers or in a Brazilian data center, so that I've got a hot backup sitting somewhere else geographically. And so in case something happens to the North American data centers, I then need to replicate those file storage to those other locations. If I use a database storage like this, I can replicate and have a cold backup sitting and being available in those other geographies as well. So it's a question really of how much do we want to invest to ensure that we stay up whenever chaos strikes.
Do it live!
And we're going to do it all live here on channel. Thanks for the question, Brian Monk. I really appreciate you chiming in there in the chat room. So, what about the Azure App Configuration resource? It's new and made for configuration problems. I need to get beyond just configuring for one application. That might be good for just configuring the application, but I need to push my configuration for each channel somewhere else, and that's going to need to scale and really be more, right, I'm going to have different records for each channel that we're managing. Cronrat asks, how often does an Azure data center hit a catastrophic issue? Not frequently, right? There was a hurricane that hit Houston about a year or two ago, and they had to push everything out of that data center to another data center because quite literally the data center was destroyed by weather. Superstorm Sandy hit the east coast of the United States, and it knocked out, not just for Azure, but some AWS data centers in the Virginia region when that incident occurred. So it's a give and take. It's a question of how, right? And of course, there's human problems, right? Folks can make a mistake and accidentally, things get knocked down inadvertently. So these are questions. These are things that you can spend a little bit of time to provide for, and you won't have issues later. Perhaps more common is that a data center has problems and you can move operations to a secondary data center. You're right, Fuel Snable. Yep. You're planning for some worst case scenarios. You're planning for disasters that could happen. I'm not necessarily planning for disasters. That's why I'm not going to go for Cosmos DB. I don't need that level. SQL database, I'm not sure I need a full SQL database, so that kind of eliminates Azure SQL, MySQL, even MariaDB. I think I can avoid Postgres. SQL Server on virtual machines, I don't need to go that far. This is a migration service, I don't need that. That's a migration service, which then leaves me with a cache on Redis or back at table storage. Yes, Brave Cobra creates disasters all the time. That's a thing. That's totally a thing. How are the sound effects compared to the rest of the music? Are they loud enough?
Oh my.
I feel like I need to take the volume of the music down just a smidge. Just a smidge. Right? If you give me just a second here. Yeah, let me take this down just a little bit. I think that's all right. Thank you for the follow. Give me a second here and we'll acknowledge that. Thank you for the follow, SE Mike. Appreciate you joining us. What about a MongoDB in another container, says Stelzy. I still need to save to disk. And then I need to be able to replicate. I said it.
And then?
I need to be able to replicate it and persist that file storage
And then?
across other places, and then I need to configure all of that. Versus, what's the worst decision of computing in the last decade? Bry Monk. A file would honestly be the thing you need to read because of the low overhead, and if needed, toss that into distributed store. So that's what I'm using for development storage here. But if we use a database, it can be cached in memory, and you'll be able to access it and interact with it much, much quicker. So, there's options, right? Thought I was going to wear my C# hat today. We're going to wear some different hats today. I've got 6 hats here locally. So Brian Monk, when you do cache a file locally, I've now got to write the mechanisms to synchronize and syndicate that file back and forth across different containers. When you deploy a new container, you're going to need to download all of those files again locally and reconfigure from some central data store. So why even set up that central data store when I can just use a service that is going to do the same thing and just query that central data store? Cronrat prefers an XML document stored in blob storage of a SQL server hosted on a Docker container. Now cut that out. Let me tell you something there, Cronrat.
It can be done exactly how I want it. The only question is, are you the man to do it?
Darn Skippy, I'm the right guy to do it. So, how's it going, Mary Jo? Good to see you. So I think I'm just going to stick with table storage and just stand up another set of tables, not Robert's tables, but another set of tables for my data. I think this is, right, if we look at what table storage is here, right, it uses JSON to serialize data. We can perform OData-based queries. All right. Semi-structured data that's highly available, create massively scalable apps. Yes. And we'll be able to do geographical read-only replication of our data. So I'm just going to stick with table storage again. I think that's the right way to go for us. So let me go back to my dashboard over here, and I have Here it is. Right, this is my storage. How many times am I actually going to need to get this config? Well, every time it restarts, every time there's a save, right? Somebody makes a change to configuration, we're going to need to persist that. We don't need to get it that frequently, so the latency to go fetch it is another one of those reasons why I don't really need a full SQL database. These are actually JSON files that are saved to disk, and I can actually go to Storage Explorer here, right? And I can look at my tables. So here's my widget state table that we started writing, and I can actually, right, I believe I can double click into this, and no, I don't want to. If I click that, there you go. You can see it's a JSON file that's written here that I can query and interact with. That's easy for me to work with. Maybe a handful of config changes per service, per channel that we're interacting with, right? I'm going to have, if I stand up a channels table here, I'm going to have separate records for each channel, and when those channels start and when they stop, I'm going to need to fetch that data. So I don't need to get it that frequently, but I've got someplace that's being stored, backed up, replicated to other data centers that I don't have to think about. I don't have to write all that plumbing. It's not a Discord bot, it's a Twitch bot. We could connect it to other services later. What is Azure's solution for centralized configuration, asks Brave Cobra. Active Directory and Storage Vault is what they recommend. So, and I don't want to go there. So, and because we're building this with this very flexible architecture, for us to connect to another service, YouTube, Mixer, Discord, would be really easy to add on as another set of configuration. Azure configuration is a thing now, and to be perfectly honest, I don't want to build and get hooked into something that is specific for Azure for this, right? Table storage is something that is not as, is a little bit easier, and there is this same type of thing, whether it's right, if I go to Amazon, I can use S3. I've got other features. The Azure configuration, I'm gonna have to bring in some concepts and things that I don't necessarily want to get into. So I'd rather use the little key value store here. So, all right, let's just stand up another table here and start storing our configuration over there per channel. So because I've built this flexibly, I should be able to, words, right? I should be able to swap out, right? I've got an interface sitting here that I can use, and I can swap out so that I'm using a different database provider. Thank you for the follow. Oh, thank you for the follow, Bry Monk. I appreciate you joining us. And I've already seen you in the chat room, so that's really cool. So I've got this Azure widget state repository, and to your point, you could just save this on disk. Well, I've already got this one here for, right, this is my channel configuration context. I have this interface here that if I jump through to that, you could see get configuration for channel. I have to be able to get the list of connected channels. That's where I'm going to need to be able to query across the table storage and say, well, what are the connected ones? So I can figure out how to go and reconnect to everything. So that might be something we need to store in a different manner. Let me see. Yes. We'll figure that out later. So, right, I have a simple get and save, but this is a query across the various channels. I would have to query and pull back all of the channel data and filter it appropriately. Not terrible. Let's start writing the interaction. And I feel like I should just copy what we've got here for this one, right? So this is reaching out and saving, hey, thank you. This is reaching out and saving into Azure Table Storage, and I've got a couple methods here to help with interacting and saving data. I'm going to end up reusing a lot of this logic. So let me add another class here. There we go. And let's call this Azure Channel Configuration Context. I don't think I have Karnak running. Let me get that running so you can see my hotkeys. Take care, Brave Cobra. Thanks for tuning in. Ooh, a Michael Bublé concert. Oh my.
Oh my.
Have fun with that. All right. Just keeping an eye on things. There we go. Good, good, good. Is that using Cosmos or is Azure Table Storage different? Azure Table Storage is different. It's been around for a while. The folks who run Cosmos DB want you to think that table storage, blob storage, is Cosmos. It's not. It's its own thing, separate. But they want you to think and start using Cosmos. Really, Visual Studio? Really? We're gonna play this game today? Don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. You're gonna ask for the bull, you're gonna get the horns. Channel can, yes, there it is. And a control dot. There we go. Implement interface. Ba-bang. All right, so I've got my 3 methods. Let's get rid of that. Let's steal some of the logic that's over here. So I have a connection string that's coming in that we're going to reach out and grab out of this widget persistence thing. Yes, Sloth, it crashed. Julio Barina asks, have I used ML.NET? Yes, we wrote and presented a workshop at TwitchCon showing how to use ML.NET with a very simple chatbot. And I think we're going to end up bringing some ML.NET into this application because our friend Carrie, she wrote a widget, a feature that will take a look at the video that's being presented here on Twitch and do some analysis of what it sees on screen and report back to the chat room based on what types of commands are executed. Really, really great stuff. Cosmos DB Table API is premium for Azure Table Storage. Yeah, there's a thing there. So, all right, let's go up to this and let's create a constructor. I'll use the constructor snippet CTOR and it'll give you this constructor. I want to receive configuration. I'm going to control dot and get my using statement for that. Control dot again, and I'll create that configuration property. I don't even need the configuration property, come to think of it. I just need the connection string, don't I? So let's create a field. Connection string equals configuration, and I'll need to pull the connection string from somewhere. Well, we get our configuration out of app settings. So right now, I have my widget persistence configuration here, but I don't have a configuration that allows me to specify, configuration option, that allows me to specify the connection string for my channel configuration. Okay, so let's invent that. Right, this is the login for the bot, and that may grow as we add additional services here. Pac-Man Jr. says, and this is a very good point here. I want to make sure that I call this out. So many things to choose from when doing something. Hard to know if a person has picked right. If it works, it's right. And I think what you're circling is shipping is a feature. If you shipped code and it works, it's a feature. You can't argue if it works. Does it work well? Does it not work well? Well, that may cause you to choose a different feature in the future. But I think you're right there, Pac-Man Jr. You can choose different things. Fuel Snable thinks there's several right outcomes. You're not wrong there either. So let's create channel configuration. Let's make this an object. Connection string. Provider. So now we have a way to detect and say, well, here's the provider that I'm using for channel configuration, and be able to pivot and choose appropriately. Because we do it down here for the widget persistence. Yeah. Thank you for the follow, Wahadeen Aji. Welcome. Good to see you. Lemons. Lemons has a question about building a game with Xamarin. Any good library, game engine related mechanisms, or just pure forms? Not sure. I would have to ask my friend James Montemagno. There's a couple other folks here on the Live Coders team that do a lot of Xamarin stuff that you could ask. I'm not sure if there's an game engine that you could bring into Xamarin to do turn-based easily. That's a little bit outside my wheelhouse. So I would refer you to James Montemagno for that. Fuel Snable says, should I choose a cloud provider abstraction so you can switch between Azure, AWS, and Google? Yeah, Pac-Man Jr., you can drop a shout out for James. James Montemagno. Building an abstraction over the cloud providers is effectively what I'm doing here with my data access layer, the DAL that you're referring to. Yep, and Simon's pointing that out. By providing this interface here, iChannel configuration context, I can swap out and change, very easily change which provider I'm using, and that's why I'm allowing that to be configured here. So by default, let's say JSON, which doesn't have a connection string, right? Because that uses the file storage. Yeah. And then what I can do, is in my startup, have it choose appropriately which one to use. So right here, this, right, if I jump through here, it switches on that provider and goes and sets up appropriately which one to use. The last one here right now is throwing a configuration exception. What I was thinking of doing was actually having it do a if test and goes and finds a configuration provider that has whatever name it is that you've passed in. That'd be really cool to do, but I don't need it just yet. I don't need to provide that level of flexibility. So let's switch on startup configuration, right? And that app setting that I'm pivoting on is channel configuration provider. So channel configuration provider, right? By using the colon here, it lets us step through the hierarchy in the configuration. Channel configuration colon provider. And I'm realizing Karnak is in the wrong corner here. Let me move Karnak. Pardon me for a second. Wow. There we go. So I'm going to switch on that provider to lower invariant. So I don't care what case you write it in. I'm going to force it to lowercase so I can detect and go find it appropriately. So if you say JSON, right? We'll services add transient. We'll say go use I was channel configuration context, and we'll have it use the file storage channel configuration context. That's easy. So if you also say Azure Table, because we might choose to use something else in the future, but for right now this is fine. Add transient I channel configuration context. So for that interface, when that's requested, we're going to give Azure channel configuration context. There we go. All right, cool. So let's write this. So the connection string is going to come out of, right? Channel configuration, connection string. So channel configuration, connection string. And let's create that as a read-only field, so I have that available. Thank you for the follow, Jay Cambert. How are we today? Everything good? Oh, everything's amazing. You know why everything's amazing? I'll tell you why everything's amazing. Because everything is awesome. Oh, everything is so awesome. We're here in Orlando. I'm gonna go, and I hope to catch up with some of our other Twitch friends later today. They ran a half marathon this morning. Nurble, Casey Renee Cosplay, Imperial, Fierce Kittens. You've seen Fierce Kittens here on the Live Coders channel, and hope to catch up with them and have some downtime away from Twitch things and actually just hang out and unwind. Really great to see those folks. So, yeah. So, all right. So now I have a connection string. I need to set up just a few methods here, and I'm going to, I could steal these methods from my Azure widget state repository. I could. Sentiment stuck. Oh no, is the sentiment stuck? Well, how are we doing here? It looks like it's running properly. Somebody run a tacos command there in chat. Can we run tacos? Because everybody loves tacos. That's not how you spell tacos. That is. And it's still stuck. Wow. You're not wrong. Wonder why I am confused. Right? Yeah, something's.
Oh my.
I know. Darn Skippy indeed. Yeah, thanks, Pac-Man Jr. Thanks. It should be a lovely stream, but it's not running for us. Restart that. Refresh the sentiment. There it is. Trying to raise it. No, it's a lovely stream indeed. I just reset it there. There we go. All right. The more and more that I look at this, I've got some concepts and things in here that we can reuse on getting Azure tables and things that, you know what, I would really like to put into an abstract Azure Table Storage class that this inherits from. So let's do that. Let's do a little bit of refactoring here so I can reuse it for both Azure Table Storage features. So let's do this. Public abstract class, Azure Table Storage, Azure Table Repository. Base Azure Table Repository. Add a noun here, factory, no. Okay. And I can have this base Azure Table Repository. Would? Yeah. Why doesn't it like that? Must come before enter. Oh, right. Right. There we go. Okay. So I feel like connection string is something we could pull down into that. You know what? Let's put these side by side so we can kind of bounce back and forth between them. Yep. Put it in its own file. Now, why didn't you leave that file open for me? I'm going to put it side by side here. So let's see. This entity is specific to this object, so I'm not going to get worn out about that. Get Azure table. I feel like this we can put over here. And we'll make this protected. Right. Let's create a protected constructor here that takes that configuration. Yeah. No. You make me sad. Come on now. Ooh. Ooh. No, that's not gonna work. Put a protected set on this. There we go. So now I can set that from anywhere. Yep, we need some using statements here. There we go. Get table reference. I want to make that a parameter that's being passed in. Add argument, name, table name. I think that's what I want. No, not there. Thank you for the follow. Mission Fission. Cool. Thank you for that. No, not a constant. I'd love to be able to pull that up into an argument for this method, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. Bummer. So let's break it. String table name. So we'll get some red over here where that isn't being passed in. And I'll refactor this. And this type of refactoring is something that commercial add-on applications will give you. Things like Code Rush or ReSharper will give you those types of features. What's on my shirt, says Frankus. Look at that. What's on my shirt? There you go. My password's the last 8 digits of pi. That's a thing. That's totally a thing, right?
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think with fly, think.
Would it not be better as a collaborator service injected all places it's needed to allow mocking for tests and keep options open for another base class in the future? Hey, Teal old man, good to see you. Well, it's an interface here that you can swap out later, right? So, okay, so the get Azure table, that works. Get and save. Okay, those feel like they're doing the right thing. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now if I go back over to, and these operations here, we could even simplify, right? We could simplify and pull this, put this into a method as well, so that all the Azure stuff gets pushed over there. Booting up all your Raspberry Pis to compute that, says Lemons PT. Oh my goodness. Well,
do your best.
Do your best. Let me know what you find out, okay? They're all going to start up, and I hope you have a startup sound. It all sounds like...
It's alive!
Yeah, right? Can you do that? Only if it's cherry pie.
You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
No, I know what it means. I definitely know what it means. Right, we can... I wonder if we can make this easier. Maybe? Then we can get rid of the get Azure table altogether, right? Let's think about that. If I can simplify this even further, let's think about that. Let me do this. No, I don't want a breakpoint. Right? If I were to, right, and this is a little bit of class design that we're doing here, right? So if we have a protected method here, right, that is going to return, right, async task of type T. Ooh. Get entity from table, string table name, string? Yeah. String key, right, it's a partition key, and then there's an individual key after that, right? So if we had something like that, right, we need to write this T as a generic over here, right? So we can say where T new. So that means we need to be able to create a new T object, right? It's some object of some type. Yeah, like that, right? There we go. So retrieve one of these, right? In this case, the channel name is the partition key, and the widget name is the key, okay? So this doesn't know what it's doing. To table entity. Aha! Aha! Right? So widget state entity down here, see this? This is the entity that we're retrieving. It's a table entity. So if we say, it's not just new, but it's a table entity. That works now. Oh. Chat room, I think we got something here. I think we got something. So if we say var table equals get Azure table, table name, right? So now I'm getting the table there. It knows how to retrieve it. Table execute async. Why doesn't it like that? What's wrong with the execute async here? Yeah, we're using some generics here. What doesn't it like about that? Is it a using statement or something that I'm missing? This I'm going to turn to T. Get payload as dictionary. Let's do this. Get rid of that. Take this and just say return new T. Why don't you like that? Fine. We'll put the new constraint on it also. There you go. These are called constraints up here, right? Where we say where T. These are constraints that say that that type needs to be a table entity, and now you need to be able to construct it. So now I can say return just a new T. But this execute async is bothering me here. Let's see if we can figure out what the deal is there. Cloud table execute async, right? Why don't you like that? Yee. Microsoft Azure Cosmos table, right? Microsoft Azure Cosmos table. Why don't you like that? Execute async, or right, return result as T. Now, I'm still not sure why this doesn't like this. Is it just grouchy? What do you think, chat room? See, it's okay there? Or not? Anybody have a tip how to unit test Razor views? No. It's in cloud table, so this is returning. Oh, wait. There it is. There it is. I forgot the await. Table wasn't a table. So, yeah, this. Ugh. Okay, I think we're all right. Yeah, it was a task. You're right, Johan. You're right. So, okay. So I have a table and I've got it returned. So now if I've done this right, over here, right, when it's doing this fetch, right, the result is a table result. So table result dot result as t. That's what I need to do. Return result dot result. So I get the actual object that's inside of it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I could theoretically remove all of this, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, we can. Right? I can, let's just comment this out for now. So what I should be able to do now is await base dot get entity from table, widget state entity. The table name that I'm going into is widget state. And the partition key is the channel name, and then the widget name. Right, so that should give me entity equals that. Right? This is why the async suffix on methods makes sense. It does, yeah. There's discussions and decisions around that folks can go either way on. So let's do this. Let's return entity. I can just say get payload. I've just changed the behavior though. I think we're okay though. I think that's okay. So now also I can go over to my Azure channel configuration context. Get rid of this. Right? Change this to pull out of a base Azure table repository. So now I've got my channel configuration. Get configuration for channel, I can say, well, my channel configuration here, I'm going to have an entity object that needs this. Johan, you're onto something there. You can run to the question of how do I unit test my Razor views. Unit testing, that means you're going to render them. You're rendering a view. You're rendering user interface interactions, which is something that's very, very human-driven. Now, there are ways to take screenshots, right, and inspect what's on that web page and say, does this look right? Does this not look right? You can do that with something like acceptance tests, and there's an acceptance testing framework that you can do to look at those and test to make sure that they are appropriate. But I think you're also getting into a point where you're doing some integration testing, and you're going to want to look at something like Selenium to be able to start the application, navigate to the appropriate page, and automatically do those interactions with the page. Yeah, there you go. Bluetooth FX, good to see you. Welcome. All right. So I think I'm going to have an entity, right? I need to set up a just like I did over here, a table entity for this. Yeah. So let's do this. I'm I'm going to set up another class that's internal to this. And we'll call this channel configuration entity. This is a table entity. That has a channel name as a key. Let's see. So partition key, I'm not really going to have a partition key for this. I'm not going to partition these things. I could partition by the first letter of the channel name. Let's do that. Channel name dot. Oh, look at that. Yeah, there we go. Nah, we'll do it with substring. There we go. So the partition key is the first letter. This way we'll have 26 partitions, one for each. And that also means then that the row key is the channel name. And we can repartition later. Why don't you like that? Check to make sure it's non-null before using it. Blah, 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 blah. Go back over to here. So I have that payload. There we go. So the payload is going to be the actual channel configuration here. So let's put that in here. Channel configuration. Ugh. There we go. Oh, need to name it. Configuration. So now I can set the configuration and interact with it. Not a problem with the sidetrack. Go ahead, you can discuss that over there. But please understand, I'm not going to jump into the conversation because I'm working on this. And I don't want to distract our viewers. So now I have channel configuration and configuration that I can save and fetch. So now, what I should be able to do let's do this. Public string calculate partition key string channel name. I want to put this in one place. Right? Equals right, I should be able to do that. There we go. Channel name. So now I've got the logic for this in one place so that up here when I get the configuration I can say I can say return base dot get entity from Azure Table, and we're going to get back a channel configuration entity. Table name. The table we're going to go to, let's create a new one called channel configuration. The partition key is going to be calculate partition key channel name. And the actual key is the channel name. Done. No. Wait. Oh, tartar sauce. Fine. Be that way. The entity is that, which means I want to return entity dot what? What doesn't this like? Help me out here. Oh, it's not an async method. Ooh, that's not async. Get a waiter, get results. Now it is. Ta-da! Now what doesn't it like now? Must be a non-abstract type of public parameters constructor in order to use the parameter blah 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 blah. Here. There we go. That magic string contains a typo. It does. Well played. And you're right, it's a magic string. I don't like that. Magic string meaning when we actually need it somewhere, it's we need to type it and retype it everywhere. So I'm going to end up using that same thing down here when we do our save. So, right, let's make sure over here. Yep, good. All right, I'm fine with that. So now we need to do save. New widget state entity, right, get Azure table here, right, and make sure that there is an Azure table there. Get table create if not exists. Thank you for the follow, Mikhail ZP, welcome. What about a name of? Sure, that's a great idea. Name of is a method that's available for us in C# that we can use here, so that instead of having a block of text or an extra constant, we can actually say name of this object, and it'll turn that into a string for us, and it'll just be available. Good idea. Well done there, Stelzy. Thank you for that idea. All right. So now if I have a save method, if I need a save method inside of here, protected async task of type T, is it? It's gonna be async, but it's just a task. I don't care what the type is. I do care what the type is because of what you're saving. Let's just make it an async task, and we'll call it save some type string table name string partition key string key, and I'm going to do the same thing here where T is a table entity. Cool. All right. So what's this save method going to look like? If we start to abstract out what we did over here, yes, yes. Well, we can't have our new constructor the same. Name of might also let me do away with the parameter altogether. For the table name. Nah, I think we need it. If I did name of the type T, I could, yes. You're right. Name of type of, which would be interesting. Yeah, we can think about simplifying that later. I don't want to just save into this table, into this partition, this key, right? I actually want to put the type that I'm saving here. Payload to save. Let it be constructed outside of this. So then I can say get Azure table, table name, insert or merge, payload to save, which means then I also don't need these. That's not bad. Right, so if I go back to my Azure widget state repository to replace this, there's my entity. It's loaded properly. Instead of calling these methods, I could just say await save, await base.save. The table name is going to be I don't think I can do a, there we go. Yep, table name is fine. Save table name, and the payload to save now is entity. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Because that also means now I can go over to this, right? And I can say entity equals new. I'm going to create a new channel configuration entity. For the channel name. And I'm going to specify its configuration is the config, right? So then I can say base.save. The table name is name of channel configuration. The payload to save is entity. Done. So yes, it is not awaited, so we should get awaiter, get results so that it runs synchronously. Okay, what do you think there? Space Cat, thank you so much for the host. The table name makes sense to up it into the base class. I see what you're saying. Sure, let's do a little bit more refactoring. Let's do it. There we go. So if we have a public string called table name that we're interacting with a get and a, you know what? Abstract string. No, that's a weird config. No. If I put it like that, then you're forced to implement it. Yeah. Consequently, then, inside of here, it's going to complain, oh, that's not implemented. Watch this. Watch this. There it is. So this just goes like that. Done. Consequently, then, inside, right? Over here, I don't need to pass table name. I can just say table name. Don't need to pass it here either because I've got table name. I don't even need to pass it there. Ooh, look at that. Don't need table name there or there. That's pretty freaking cool. Implement that. I need the match game sound effect, music. Right, so if I do that, so now my table name is set there. Get entity from table, I can get rid of that. Good. Got another little bit of red down here. Let's get rid of this one. So I can just say save entity. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Now this is simplified. Now we've got it really easy, right? Oh, you're right. Maybe that should be protected. I'm okay with that. We can change that scope. right? Can I do that? Well, it's abstract. No, it's public. It's just doing a get. I'm okay with that. Nobody else outside of that doesn't know what an Azure Table Repository is going to deal with that. We're okay with that. Cool. So if I finish the Azure channel configuration context, the last one I need is this get connected channels, which is going to need to do with something a little bit more across this. Wait a sec. Hang on. I've got an extra table name fetch in here. Get rid of that. One more bit of red down here. Oh no! All right. I think I've got it. I think I've got it.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Is that Xiaomi Box 24 from Turkey? Welcome. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in. How are things in Turkey today? I'm guessing it's in the evening there. My colleague John Galloway is in Istanbul giving some presentations this week. I think we went through that pretty good. We've
Gone to plaid.
No, we haven't gone to plan. I think we've got that pretty nicely solved. So we've got a nice generic interaction with our data storage, and we've simplified that so that we can do this a couple different ways, actually. And I'm feeling pretty good about that interaction. But the last piece we need to do is this get all the records interaction. Not just get the entity from the table, but get all the records from the table. So let's do this. Let's create a protected async task of type. We're going to return an IEnumerable, a collection of these objects, which means I need another using statement there. Get all records from table, and this is going to be ugly. This is going to be ugly. Yeah. Where T is a table entity. Ooh. Thank you. Table entity, right? Because I want to be able to query these to figure out which ones are connected and which ones are not. Yeah. Let's go get the table. We're going to need a retrieve operation. Is it a batch operation? Is that a thing? What's that look like? No. Wood. I don't know what this looks like. Let's explore the API a little and see what this does. Contains table operation item. No. Retrieve. Can I do a retrieve? What else? What else can we do here? I don't want to get all the records. Selected columns. Look at that. Can we do a where on those selected columns? Space Cat. By George, he might actually have it. It's magic. When you abstract data away, these other classes, these other interactions become a heck of a lot easier. Right? We're just reusing the same interaction. But I want to be able to retrieve a collection of these, not just one, right? Can I do that with table storage? Let's see. Azure, don't type it up there. Let everybody see what I'm typing. Azure Table Storage. Retrieve multiple records. Yeah, there we go. Get all records from Azure Table Storage. Yes. Retrieve. Is there a way to retrieve You're able to retrieve single records. You need to specify a table query. This will give you all the entities. You can specify table query generate filter condition to filter the rows. Terrific. Which this tells me, since I can set up other columns, and I haven't actually built the rest of, right, I haven't built my channel configuration. I could put a column on here, right, that is, right, connected, right, and let's see here. I'll come to the question in the chat room there in just a second. Right, I could have get return some configuration inner object, but when we set, I could say connected equals value dot connected to channel configuration equals value. Right, and then store this somewhere up there, and that's now a thing. Connected now, when we set connected, I need a similar interaction here. Right? There we go. We can return a property called connected. Ugh. That's fine, I guess. But when it's set, not only do we want to set the connected value, but we also want to put it into the, if I put it into configuration and set it, it's going to, thank you for the follow, J Page. Welcome. Hey, Rambling Geek, good to see you. I need to define which one's the authoritative value that it's going to store. Right. Yeah, let's put connected. Let's leave this just as a get set. Right. This way, when we set the configuration, it saves the connected, and we'll be able to get and filter on that later. So over here, get all records from table. I don't want to necessarily get all records from table. Right, we want to do this table query like it's showing here. Table query equals new table query. Yeah. Right. New table query for this type of entity. That feels weird. Right, because that's a cloud table. What's a table query? Query equals new table query. Of type T. Oh, okay. I don't specify the table that I'm querying? How's that work? Yeah, it was going to be a circular dependency, you're right, Crows. Hey, J Page. How do we want to do this? Right. What's a table query? Here. I don't want to read all this document, just tell me how to use it. You know what I'm saying? How do I specify the table that I'm going against? Get source table name. Show me querying tables and entities. Yes, please. Yep, right, sure. Okay. All right. Yep, okay. All right, yep. I'm a developer. No. No. Filtering on GUID properties? No. Oh, that's not gonna work. Set source table name. Aha. Is that? No, there's no. Table query of type T. I created one right there. Right? Set source table name right there. How do I do that? Stored procedure name. That's. It's protected. I can't access it. T is a class which implements table entity. Yeah. Right. And contains a nullery constructor. Note when using an inner class to define it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. What? So what you're telling me is I need to set the source table name inside of my class. Okay. Switch to Java to do this. What? What are you saying there? That is the API for Java. It is. Package. Look at that. Son of a gun. You're right. I thought I was in... Why am I over in Java? No. No! Okay. I'd like to search. That searches all of Microsoft. I want to search just the docs. And it's not there. Develop apps. Yes, .NET, please. I don't want to get started.
Oh my.
Right? Table query? Sure. Java, JavaScript, Java. I guess they don't have .NET APIs for table query. You're kidding me. Right? What's under documentation? No, that's Java. Why am I only getting Java when I chose .NET? Yes, where's the API? Samples, how-to guides. I don't want to manage, I want to query it. Yeah. Query on partition key and row key. Okay, this is not the .NET API. There we go. New table query on customer entity, combine filters. But it's table client, table get, table reference. Okay, there we go. This is what we want. Okay, so that's a cloud table, good. So then my query is going to be new table query of type T, okay. I don't want to necessarily get all records. Let's just say get records from table. All right, we'll figure. Generate filter condition. I'll have to figure that out. Yeah. All right, let's, right, it wants me to do now a dot where, okay, and a string filter. So TableQuery dot, I mean, I could just say, right? String table filter. Thank you for the follow. Skindella. Appreciate you joining us. Right, I could say that. Right, and that will return a table query of type T. All right. So then we want to say await table execute query segmented async. Oh. Table, right, table, type T, query. T must be a non-abstract type with a public parameterless constructor. So we need the new there as well. There we go. So this is going to return a task of table query segments. Table query segments. So if that's our result, we want to return result dot results. Sure. Got it. Okay. So I still need to figure out how to do the table filter, but I should be able to come over here and for this, be able to say return base dot get, not entity, get records from table and channel configuration entity. And my where that I'm going to pass, this is going to be records, and we'll do a select out of it to get just the names. So get records from table, but the filter that we're going to create, table query generate filter, table query generate filter condition. Property name is connected. Operation is query comparisons equal. Given value is going to be true. Right? And that looks weird saying true.toString. You don't like that, do you? Fine. That should work. And put that at the end. Okay, so that gives me a collection of records. So now I can say return records dot, oh rats. Get a waiter, get results. I can say return records dot select. All right, we're gonna look at these and we're gonna say, not those. We want the configuration channel name, bingo. And we've returned our collection of strings for those channels that are connected. Nice. Might I have a func or an action for this? Maybe. Oh, Pac-Man, I'm sorry. I should have grabbed your link there. Thank you. There are a couple folks with the links for that. Oh, thank you, Electric Havoc. I'm glad you like the shirt. But we are just about out of time here. And actually, I'm a little bit over time. Gosh. So let's do this. Let's wrap up. Let's wrap up here. I have a music thing here, I promise. Yep. Okay, so we've got it now. We haven't tested it, but we have methods now that will go and fetch data for us appropriately from Azure and save data. We've abstracted that data away so that we can actually reuse some of this logic. Let me commit this to source control, and we can test it next time. Now saving channel configuration data to Azure Storage also. Fantastic. I will push that up so it builds and we make sure that everything runs properly. I should have built first, shouldn't I? Let's see if we can get it to build real quick, just to see if it actually runs. We'll tell it to build the solution. There it goes. Thank you for the follow, Schrodinger's King. Appreciate that. Thanks so much. Yep, I've got some build problems here. Well, that's not. Oh, and it's .NET format that's blowing up on me. Right? Right, if I rebuild over here, this should do some of that formatting for me on the way, thanks to our friend Stelzy. Nope. Failed. Where are my errors? .NET format is not happy at all. Stelzy, what should I be doing here? Because this won't build at all right now. I'm going to take out the before targets here on this. Yeah, I'm going to have to... Let me remove this for right now. Just so I can get it building. There we go. But that .NET format should have landed properly. Remove it on the second task. Rebuild succeeded. Fantastic. Tell you what, I'm going to save with the way that it is right there. Good. And that'll force a rebuild and everything should work properly. Fantastic. Thank you so much everybody for joining me. I really appreciate folks tuning in. This was a lot of fun, even though I'm here in Orlando. Let me find where to go. Let's set up, let's get a raid happening. It's Sunday morning. That's the wrong keyboard. Let's set up a raid. You know what time it is. We're going to go raid our good friend, the No-Op Cat. She just started programming over there. I haven't even looked to see what she's working on yet today. But I did get the message. Yes, Orlando does await Cronrat. I need to go get some things set up. I hope to catch up some of our other Twitch friends. And I will see you live from Microsoft Ignite Tuesday. Keep an ear open for the rest of the week. I'm going to have to shuffle my schedule, but we're going to have special streams. We're looking at doing one Tuesday night. We're looking at doing one Friday morning live here from Ignite. We'll see you later. Take care.